Hello, this is Kevin Trainer. Welcome to my introductory lecture for IS430 in the spring of 2022. As you can see on my screen, uh, I am teaching 4 courses in the spring of 2022, including 3 sections of IS430, Foundations of Information Processing. And I'm making one introductory recording for all 3 sections. And they're really only different in that they meet in different places and they meet in different times. But the things that we're going to be doing are the same in every week of the course. Okay? And I'm not going to make 3 of these introductory recordings. I'm going to make 1. And I'll try to point out what might be the differences from section to section as we're going along. Okay? While I'm doing this, I'm going to review 3 kind of bundles of information. Okay? The weekly schedule, which this is a kind of super index page too. So a weekly schedule for the A section, which meets on Tuesday afternoon, is here. Okay, so that's the weekly schedule. We're going to be going through that. The Canvas site, and again, we're just going to go through one of the sites. We're going to go through one of the schedules. We're going to go through one of the sites, and we're going to go through the syllabus for one of the sections. And again, for the other 2 sections, things will be slightly different, and I'll try to point those out as we go along. Okay? What you might want to do while you're playing this, if you've got more than one monitor, I'm lucky enough to have 3, is that you might want to play it on one and pull up the documents that apply to your section on the other monitor. Okay? All right. So let's begin here by looking at the Canvas site. Okay? So here we're looking at the Canvas site for the A section. And how can I tell that? Well, down here, it says, oh, it is not the A section. How about that? Well, that's humbling. Let me go there. There we are. It says IS430 ACG ACU. Okay. Why doesn't it say it up here? Well, the good folks who generate our Canvas sites haven't had the wisdom to put a name up here that allows you to tell the sections of a course apart unless you know their serial numbers or something like that. And so I put it down here. Okay. So how's our Canvas site organized? Well, when you come in, the 3 most recent announcements are at the top of the page. You can also get to them. Well, you know what I should do? I should really look at this in the student view, huh? Let's do this. Yeah, that's the student view. So the 3 most recent announcements are up here. All right. And then the other way to get to the announcements is to click on it in the navigation pane. Okay. So these are the 3 announcements that I've made for the A section. Okay. For the B and the O section, well, they're slightly different, but they all say pretty much the same thing. Okay. The page that we have is organized around modules, That's one of the options of the way to organize a front page for a Canvas site. So each of these bigger boxes is a module. So there's a sort of a module with course information. Okay. There's a module for contact us. There's a module for submit assignments. It doesn't have the assignments in it yet. And there's a module for assignment solutions. I will be publishing my official solutions to the assignments after you hand yours in. So we're going to be reviewing those in class. And we're going to be reviewing your solutions as well. Okay, so let's kind of work our way through this. And I'm going to pause 1 second, and I will be right back. Okay, sorry about the pause. I'm back. Okay, so let's look at this first box. Okay, again, it should have the name of the section that you're in. This is the A section that meets on Tuesday afternoons. There's another section that meets on Tuesday mornings. Those are both on campus, and then the O section meets online on Thursday evening. Okay? There's a link to the syllabus. So click through here and you'll get a button, and click again and you'll get the syllabus, and I suspect you might want to download it, okay, and print it, okay? Or you can keep on coming back here. If I update the syllabus, okay, this link will update. All right, so this is always going to take you to the current version of the syllabus. And if I update the syllabus, when I do that, I will post an announcement in the announcements forum. All right. Okay, the weekly schedule. Okay, so this link takes you to the weekly schedule for your section of this course. So we're on the Canvas page for the A section, the one that meets on Tuesday afternoons. So we've gone to the schedule for that section. And although it's not fully obvious, these week numbers are links. So to go to week 1, you click on link 1, and we'll be back to review this in a bit. Okay. So that's how you get to the weekly schedule. Again, that weekly schedule is updatable. If I make a change to the weekly schedule, this link will automatically take you to the updated version, but I will post an announcement in the announcements forum. The next item in this module is please set your preferred name using the university self-service application. Okay, and when you open this up, I am asking you to go to the university self-service application and provide your preferred name, okay? That is going to be used to populate the name that shows up in Canvas and the name that shows up in Zoom, okay? That's going to be really important, okay? I want us to call each other by the names that we prefer. And, you know, I think there's a thing there for your pronouns as well. I know that there's at least one inside of Canvas, but please go here and adjust your name such that the name you want to be known by, the way that you'd like us to address you in class, is what's in the system. And again, if you follow the link here to the instructions, these are instructions that were provided by the help desk at the iSchool. Okay. And they've been pretty reliable in previous semesters. And so please do this. Please do this ideally before the first class. Okay. Why do we want you to do that? Well, I want to call you by your proper name in the first class. Okay. So one further thing that it's going to be linked to the name that appears here is, for the past couple of years, I've been teaching all these sections online, but two of the sections, the A section and the B section, are actually on campus. Now, as we all know, the first week is online, okay? And how we're going to know each other while we're there, where I'm going to print up name badges, kind of badges you would get when you go to a conference, okay? And how am I going to know what names to print on the badges? Well, it's going to be the name that's in the system. Okay, so when am I going to print those? Well, I'm going to print them late in week one, maybe the weekend before week 2. Okay, so get to the system and change your name so that, especially if you're on the on-campus course, I print a badge which actually says what you would like on your badge, which we're going to wear. I'm going to wear my badge, and it's sort of a name tag that hangs around your neck, like you're at a conference, right? In fact, I ordered them from people who make the name badges for conferences. I kind of like them. I hope you will. So get this done. Okay, it's a bit of a pain, but it's going to allow us to give you the respect of calling you by what you would prefer to be called. Okay, that's what that is. Now, getting help in iSchool quick links. This is the only part of the content that I got from the iSchool ITD folks that I left on the Moodle page. So there are links here for important resources for iSchool folks, especially important ones, iSchool Help Desk and Tech Chat, and then the phone. If we're online and we're in a Zoom session and you get a problem, you should know that you can come here and contact the help desk using these resources. Okay? All right. Open discussion forum. The open discussion forum for these sections is for you. It's for you to communicate with each other. Okay? This is not a way to ask for help from either me, the instructor, or in the case of the A section here, Colleen is the TA. So the TA and I are going to monitor the open discussion forum from time to time, and we'll contribute from time to time. Okay. I think I have this configured so when somebody posts here, you're going to get an email. Okay. And this might be a place where you could even get some help from your colleagues. Okay. So I'm not saying that this isn't a place you could come, isn't a place to come and get some help, but we have another resource. We've set up a service desk for you to contact um, the TA and I to get help. Okay, so this is not the place to get help from us, but it's a great place to share things, and it's important for us to have. Okay. Okay, Zoom meetings. So let's go here. Okay, so this is a list of the Zoom meetings, and there is a meeting for every session for the entire semester, even for the A section and the B section that meet on campus. Why did I do that? Well, I don't know what the COVID pandemic will hold for us. I think back to 2 years ago in the spring of 2020, when I was talking with students and we were saying, "Yeah, we think we're going to be okay, whatever," and they shut down all the programs where I was teaching, and we were online. Okay, so to the extent that we may need to go online, totally at some point, or something happens where we need to be online for a single session, there is a session here for every class meeting that we have. How will you know whether, well, if you're in the O section on Thursday evenings, you'll know everything's online because they're always online. But if you're in the A section or the B section that meet on Tuesday, how will you know? Well, it's in the weekly schedule. I'll show you where that is when we get the weekly schedule. Okay. Plus, if I move something, I'm going to post an announcement in the announcements forum. Okay. So it might be worrisome that something could move online, but it won't move online without warning, and it won't move online without a good rationale. And this is going to be the typical thing where we all try to behave responsibly, and we all try to keep each other safe, and we hope for the best, and we're going to see what happens. Now, you may notice here, I have a class session here. Again, this is the A section. It meets on Tuesday afternoon. So on Tuesday afternoon, there's a class session. On Friday afternoon, there's a lab session. And then the next week, there's a class, there's a lab. The labs are always online. They are optional. Okay. I dreamed this up myself. Well, I've been doing these for about 5 years, I think. And they work well. Okay. So, whichever section you're in, if you go to this link for Zoom, you should have all of the Zoom links that you're going to need for the whole semester. Even some you're probably not going to need if you're on the on-campus course and health-wise things go well. Well, there'll be a bunch of class session links that we'll never use. Okay, so that's what's there. Okay, I've got a section here. Technically, this is a module. It's a Canvas module. That's what these big blocks are. And it's called Contact Us. And by us, I mean the TA and I. Okay. So the first of these pages is instructor and TA details. And we can see here that for this A section, I am the instructor and Colleen Heineman is the TA. And for the other sections, when you click on this, you'll see whatever the TA is for your section. Okay? One of the most important things here is we're saying don't send us email. Okay, we have this service desk system for our course. Use that. Well, what's that? How are you going to use that? Well, let's go back to the main page. We have a page for using the service desk for this course. Okay, and this has two important links in it. One, there's a link for the service desk for this course. And by this course, I mean this section. There's a separate one for each of the three sections. So here, we're in the Canvas site for the A section. If I click on this, I'm going to go to the service desk for the A section. So you can see IS430, ACG, ACU. Okay. Now, why are there three of these things? Well, I want to be able to work as a team with the TA for your section on helping you in answering your questions. And so we can't just send them into one big bin. We need three smaller bins. Okay, so you need to use the service desk for the section that you're in. Okay, and I'm not going to explain this anymore because there's a tutorial on it. Okay, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, the other link here on this page is to an introduction page for the service desk. Okay, and you'll see that at the bottom of the page are the links for the service desk for each of the courses that I'm teaching in the spring. 3 sections of IS430 and 1 section of IS439. So that's another place to find the links. All right. Okay, let's go back up to our Canvas main page. So there's a tutorial video here. The first one is the tutorial video on how to play my tutorial videos. By the time you get here, you have already played this. Okay. But it's short, and it tells you about how to manipulate the speed in order to have a pleasant and useful listening and viewing experience when you use my YouTube videos, many of which have a slower pace than you're naturally going to want to listen to. I typically listen to my videos at 2 times the normal rate. Now, I know what I said, so maybe you won't play them quite that fast. But you probably won't play them at just the normal rate, okay? And that's what this is all about. There's a tutorial video here on how to use the service desk for this course. So play that. It tells you how to get started with the service desk. The service desk is a help desk ticket system. It's all it is. It's not the one that's used at the help desk at the iSchool. That recently changed. The university has come up with standard help desk ticketing software for all the tech support folks at the university. So far, they haven't offered it to me, so I'm not using that yet. And here I have a link to the slides that I show you in the tutorial. Okay, so this is all the information on how to contact us. One thing I do want to call your attention to here, and maybe it's under using the service desk for this course. During the first 2 weeks of the course, each student is expected to make a greetings posts using the service desk system. So when you look at the weekly schedule for week 1 and for week 2, there'll be a reminder to send a greetings post to the service desk. You don't have to do 2. Okay, if you do it in week 1, that's great. But the idea here is that we want you to know how to communicate with us before you need help. Okay? The last thing that you want is to need help and then have to figure out how to get help before you can get help. Okay? What we want you to do is you have a problem, you know how to get help already because you did the greetings post. All right, that's what that's all about. Okay, I mentioned in passing that there's a module here for submit assignments. So we're going to have for every week there's at least one assignment to hand in. A couple of weeks there might be 2, and a rare case 3. And these are going to be here in chronological order. So when you go to submit an assignment, you're going to come here. That's what this just hasn't been populated yet. And then the solutions to the assignments, the ones that I share, are going to appear here. And they're going to appear just before our next class. Okay, and we're going to discuss them there. So that's what's in our Moodle site. Okay, and that's that. So let's talk about the weekly schedule. Okay. Let's open that. Okay, so this is the weekly schedule for the A section. Again, you might want to be following along if you have the monitor space in looking at the weekly schedule for the section that you're in, if you're in the B section or the O section. Okay, so these are all the weeks in the semester. The semester officially has 17 weeks. Week 17 is exam and commencement and things like that. It's really not a useful week. Week 9 is spring break. Yay. So of the 17 weeks, we have 15 useful weeks, and we're going to use them all. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through the first week or 2 in detail, and then I'm going to, in a more cursory way, go through the rest so you know what's in the course. Not quite the detail that I'll have for weeks 1 and 2. Okay. And I think that's the best way to really talk about the course. I find it better to spend time on this than time on the syllabus because this is what we're going to do every week, and it's not so rule-oriented. Okay, so let's look at week 1. Okay, week 1 is really the startup week for the course. Okay. How's the weekly schedule organized? Well, everything that we're going to do for the week is on the page for that week, okay? And each of the boxes is sort of an event. It happens at a particular day and time, okay? So for the A section, they have a class session on Tuesday from 12:30 to 2:30. Okay, so if you're in the B section or the O section, well, that's going to be on a different day and time. Okay, there's also the last thing here says, where is that class? So here that says Zoom. Well, for week 1, we're all on Zoom. And I want to point out this is a real class, even if you're on the on-campus section, okay, and we're not going to be in person in week 1. That doesn't mean you have the week off. We're expecting you to come to class online. So I'm looking forward to see you all there. Okay, so that's what you're going to see. So in week 1, we have a class. Okay. We have an optional lab session on Friday, and then we have the weekly assignments deadline on Sunday night. So work is due on Sunday night at 11:55 p.m. Why not midnight? Well, historically, I don't think I could set assignments to midnight in the old Moodle days. I think you can now, but it's always the kind of a problem. So I picked 11:55, and I've been using that for 13 and a half years now, and that's been serving me pretty well. So that's what we do with that. Okay, so if there are, 3 events happening for the week, then there are 3 boxes on the weekly schedule page. Okay, so the class session. What are we going to do? Well, we're not going to review the syllabus or the weekly schedule because you have already played the this recording. Okay, so I will welcome you. We'll do introductions. Okay, and I'll answer questions. Okay. There are required readings, the syllabus. Okay, there's a recording. That's the video that I'm recording right now. So that's a required recording that you should play. And then we're going to have when we're going to do introductions, I have some instructions here about how to think about your introduction so you'll know what you're going to be saying. Okay. Now, at the end of each class, we have lab time. Okay. Now, the class usually takes the 2 hours that we plan. Between introducing ourselves and answering questions and all that kind of stuff, time just flies by. Okay. But a more typical class will be an hour and a half long, an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 40 minutes, something like that. Some of the heavier weeks we might go to 2 hours. And whenever we finish normal class, I'm just going to turn the remainder into lab time. Okay. And if you have something that you'd like to do or to talk about in lab time, then stay. Okay. And if you need to leave, then leave. Okay. Because all the lab time is optional. All right. Each section has a dedicated lab time. It's sometime during the week. It's an hour long. So for sections, for the A section and the B section, meet on Tuesday on campus. The lab time is on Friday afternoon. So the lab time for the A section is from 1 to 2. The lab time for the B section is from 2 to 3. Okay. The lab time for the O section, which meets on Thursday evening, is not till Sunday morning. And that's because it's not going to do us a lot of good to have had the class on Thursday evening and then have the lab time right again on Friday afternoon. I'd like to do it, but I've decided that it's going to be on Sunday morning at 9. Okay? And again, this might be a good time to follow along on the weekly schedule for your section. Okay, what do we do in lab time? Okay, typically I help you with your homework. Okay, we have every week we have some kind of a coding assignment. Typically it's a coding assignment that we do, in which we do about 4 exercises. The first couple are like 1 or 2 or 3, but after that we get to 4 and we stay at 4. And there are regular exercises, and there is a challenge exercise. So for the regular exercises, well, let's just scoot ahead to see what they look like. Okay, so I'm going to go to week 2, and week 2 has 2 coding assignments. And let's see, I can see that there are 2 exercises for chapter 1, and there are 3 exercises for chapter 2. These are the regular exercises. Each coding assignment will have a challenge exercise. Okay. So what happens, let's go back to the lab. Okay. What happens at the lab? Well, any question you have about the regular exercises, any code that's not working that you want to show and get help with, we share your screen. I help people on a first come, first served basis, and we walk through and we answer your questions and we solve your problems. A lot of times, because we do these, in a group, right? While you're waiting for the answer to your question, or while you're waiting to help solve the problem with your code, somebody who goes ahead of you has the same question or the same problem. So by the time we get to you, you're good to go, right? Now, a lot of some substantial help is available for all the regular exercises. The challenge exercises, they are the difference from getting a 95 on your assignment and getting somewhere between a 96 and 100. Okay. They're meant to be work on your own. They're meant to be challenging. They're meant to be the difference from getting an A and getting an A plus. Will I give help on these? I'll give hints, right? They're not supposed to be easy at all. The regular exercises should be pretty easy. Now, they're easier for some folks than for others, right? And the newer people are and the less they know about programming, the more help they need in the beginning. But by the end of the course, even the newbies aren't needing a lot of help, right? On the regular exercises. Okay, so when do we have the lab time? At the end of our class. Okay, so people who got started on the exercises early, well, I can help you right after class. Okay, and at our dedicated lab time. Okay, and then on Sunday evening, okay, all of your assignments are due. Okay, now week 1, the assignments that we have, they're not hand-in assignments, not your typical ones. Send a greetings post to the service desk. That's not something you submit to Canvas, but it is a submission of a sort. choose your computer, install Anaconda, install PyCharm Professional. Okay, so these are all things for you to do in week one. Are you going to lose points if you don't get them done by 11:55 on Sunday night? No, because there's no hand and assignment activity that gets points. Okay, although if you do want to earn participation credit for submitting a greetings post to the service desk, you need to do it in either week one or week two. But the rest of these things have to be done, and I have you doing them in week one, so you'll be ready to use them in week two. All right, so that was week one. Let's go back to week two. In week two, we start going through the main textbook. We cover chapters 1 and 2 in the Zell textbook. Chapter 1 is computers and programs. Chapter 2 is writing simple programs. We have some required readings. We have some optional readings. Our second textbook, which is usually where the optional readings are, is the Severance book. And I leave those for you to read if you're interested, okay? If you want to see another expression of the same material, or, you know, you didn't get it from the Zell book and you want to see another treatment. The Zell book, Zell is a professor of computer science. Charles Severance works at the Michigan High School. I forget what his position is. He might be a lecturer like me, but he's got more of a school of information point of view. His examples are less math heavy, and you may just really like them. Okay. Required recordings. Okay, you should play the lecture. Other resources. These are typically copies of the slides. Here I made it easy for you to download the code examples from the Zell book. That's what you have there. Okay. On Friday, there is a lab session. Okay. And then what's due in week two? Well, I put the send a greetings post in here a second time as a reminder because I want you to get the credit. And I also want you to be hooked up before you need help. Okay. And then we have a coding assignment for chapter 1. It's got 2 regular exercises and 1 challenge exercise. And for each of the regular exercises, there's going to be a tutorial video. Okay. I'm going to do a similar program on the tutorial. Okay. And you can watch, you can follow along, and then your exercise, it's not going to be exactly like the tutorial, but it's going to be the same principles, okay? You won't look at the exercise and go, oh my God, how do I do this? I have no idea how to do this. No, you're going to say, if I could do the exercise that Kevin did in the tutorial, I can do this, so let's figure it out. Okay. The challenge exercise, again, is going to be a challenge. It's going to separate the people who are going to get 95 from the people who are going to get between 96 and 100. And you're going to have to decide, are those 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 additional points worth it? Okay. You don't have to do them. They're optional. Okay. And the kind of help we're going to have, there's no tutorial recording for it. And the help that I give are hints. I'm a pretty good hinter, so we'll see how that goes. So that's that. That's what, we've been through weeks 1 and 2. Those are what typical weeks look like. All right. All right. Let's go through the rest of the schedule a little faster. Okay. So in week 3, we're going to cover chapter 3 in the Zell book, Computing with Numbers. Here's how we learn. We learn how to create integer values, float values, how to do arithmetic, all those kinds of things. And we've got the standard things. We have a lab. We have a weekly coding assignment. Okay. Week 4, we skip over chapter 4. We get right to chapter 5. Okay. Chapter 4 covers some graphical things with Python that most people don't use in the field. Okay. It did have a couple of things about object-oriented programming in it. So I have, in the required recordings, I've put 2 modules from LinkedIn Learning here for you to play. They're less than 5 minutes long in each case to kind of catch you up on some of the concepts. Okay. Chapter 5 is about strings, lists, and files, and I've thrown in tuples. So I want you to read chapter 5, and I want you to read chapter 10 from Severance. That's on tuples. One of the things that I haven't really talked about yet is that some of the content is not here. Okay, so for instance, I've got lecture video, recent developments and stuff that wasn't in the books, resources not available, expected availability date, Monday of that week. But it'll probably be done by Sunday. Okay. I'm changing a bunch of the content for in the current semester to freshen it up. Okay, so that means that every assignment that you're doing that I have solutions to, I'm going to refurbish before we get there. So that means that a lot of the content isn't going to be available ahead of time. It's going to just be available at the beginning of the week. Okay, it depends on how fast I can go. All right, so if you see a link here, well, typically the content's there, and if it's not there, we have these things with these expected availability dates. That's what those are. Okay, so the good thing for you is that I'm sprucing up the course. Okay, making it more current, correcting errors in the textbook, those kinds of things. Will I get every error? Will I make everything as current as it could possibly be? Well, probably not, but it's going to improve quite a bit. So that's the good part. The bad part is for people who like to work ahead, some of the content's not going to be there until the week of. Okay, I apologize for that, but that's the cost of getting a course refresh. So that's what we're doing in week 4. We're doing strings, lists, files, and tuples. Okay. In week 5, we're going to do chapter 6 from Zell, defining functions. Functions are a big part of programming. Before we get to functions, we're throwing all of our code into one big bucket, and we're missing a lot of the more powerful things about how to organize our code and So it's really helpful to get to this and get this under our belt. Okay. So that's what we're doing in week 5. In week 6, we're going to be covering decision structures. Um, Most of us who think about programming realize that there's conditional programming logic, if then else kinds of stuff. Um, if if the driver is less than 25, they pay one auto insurance premium. If they're 25 or older, they pay a lesser one. Okay, this is something that computers are really good at. But in the course before this week, we haven't learned the features to do it. So we learn a lot of features this week that help us with conditional logic. In the next week, we learn about loop structures and booleans from chapter 8. Now, we'll have been doing some looping from very early on. Looping is where we do a set of instructions a number of times. We might do it 3 times or 10 times or 10,000 times, right? Maybe we're counting or we're printing or something like that. But before we get to this chapter, all the looping we're doing is pretty simple. And here's where we learn about kind of conditional looping. We're going to loop until we get to the end of the file or until some condition is no longer true. This is the challenging parts of looping that you really need to know in order to build a more sophisticated program. So that's what we're doing that week. The next week, we're going to be covering data collections, chapter 11 of the Zell book. And data collections are lists, which we've already covered a little bit of in chapter 5, and we're covering more, and dictionaries. Dictionaries are kind of lookup engines. We have these key value pairs. So we store the data in the dictionary with keys, and once we have, then we can take a key value and we can give it to the dictionary. We can give it a key and it can give us a value back, just like looking up a definition of a word in a conventional printed dictionary of, say, the English language. Okay, so we're going to learn about more about lists and all about dictionaries in chapter 11. Week 9, very good. We're taking a spring break. I want everybody to come back alive, A, and healthy, B, and rested and ready for more fun, C. In week 10, we switch over to the Severance book and we do chapter 11, regular expressions. Regular expressions are really cool. They're kind of a little programming language in themselves that we can use within our Python. And they are kind of matching expressions for matching texts. And they're really powerful for things like searching through a log file and finding all the things that match. So searching through a mail server log file and finding all the things that we sent to a particular email address. Searching through the log file from a web server to find out how many times a customer clicked on product A, and then they subsequently clicked on product B. Okay, those kinds of things. They allow us to do a processing of text in a way that would be very hard to do without them. And they're a lot of fun. Okay, so that's going to be a fun one. In week 11, we're going to do chapter 9. We're back to the Zell book. The title of the chapter is Simulation and Design. We learn about how to do probabilistic things with random numbers. That's why simulation is in there. But what we really learn is how to design more complex programs. Okay, and the reason why we have random number generation in the same chapter is it turns out that one of the most fun things to do when you're learning how to write more complex programs is to create a program that simulates a game of chance. Okay. Things like dice games, which is what we're going to work with, coin flipping, card games, which we're not going to work with, but you can do those kinds of things. And it turns out that the history of people learning to write programs and kind of getting hooked on programs is very closely connected to learning how to program games. Now, did that hook everybody who's gotten interested in programming? No, but it hooked me a bunch of years ago. And I think this is a great way to teach how to design and write and test more complex programs. So that's what we're doing there. In week 12, we're going to go back to Severance chapter 13 and cover object-oriented programming. Python is an object-oriented programming language, and that creates quite a bit of power. Up until this chapter, we've learned about Python being an object-oriented programming language. We've also learned that the programming objects in Python are defined by these things called classes, and there's a bunch of built-in classes that come with Python, and then there are other classes that were created by third parties. Things like the pandas data analysis package is a collection of classes and functions. And so the third kind of class is the one that you define and you create yourself. And of course, they're kind of learning that at the beginner level, learning that at the intermediate level, learning that at the expert level. We're going to learn that at the beginner level. We're going to learn how to create simple classes that are kind of data holder classes that will hold the data from a record in a file. Okay, so that's what we're going to learn there. They're kind of fun. The next unit we're going to do in week 13 is going to be Jupyter Notebooks. I added this a semester or two ago. A lot of people who use Python do their Python programming in Jupyter Notebooks, which are kind of like Python spreadsheets, if you were to try to characterize them. So we're going to learn about them. It's one of the last things that we learn about. and we're going to try to put them into perspective. How would a thoughtful programmer who's learned all the things that we've learned in the course, what kind of approach might they take to using Jupyter notebooks? What advantages do they have that maybe the people who haven't learned the stuff in this course uh, uh, how could they be better programmers in a Jupyter notebook environment? And then the very last thing that we talk about is a demo of the Pandas library. That's on week 14. Pandas is a third-party package. It's not part of the Python distribution. It's probably one of the most popular Python data analysis packages. It's the kind of thing that you're in the position to learn once you've had this course. And what I do is I take you through a demo in which you kind of see how you could go learn pandas, because it's just Python. It's the Python that we've learned all along. Okay, that's a demo. It doesn't have all the other chapters that we covered have a coding assignment, including the Jupyter notebooks. There's a coding assignment every week. The Pandas is just a demo. Okay, so starting in week 14, you should be working on your final project. Okay, and we'll get to the final project in week 16. Okay, week 15 is kind of a down week. You'll be working on your final project. You should probably start your final project before week 14. We'll be talking about that as we're going along. You need about maybe 3 weeks to do it. So 14, 15, and 16 would do it, but it might be more conservative to start working on it in, say, 13 or so. So this week 15, we're not going to have a class. We're going to have an additional optional lab. Okay. So we're going to have 2 labs this week. Okay. There's no hand-in. You're supposed to be working on the final project. And then week 16, okay, the final project is due. And whether you're going to have a class session on week 16, it depends upon the section that you're in. Okay, the A section and the B section who meet on Tuesday, we're going to that is a class day, so we're going to take that and turn it into an online lab. Okay, the O section that meets on Thursday online. Thursday is after the end of the semester. It's after the last day of class. Okay, so we're not going to have an extra lab session in week 16. If that turns out to be something that's important for your group, well, we are going to have a lab session the Sunday before, so I think that's going to work just fine. But we can talk about if we need another lab session in week 16. There isn't one in the schedule for the O section that meets on Thursday evening. The final project is due Friday night. The final project is kind of like the mother of all coding assignments. Okay. It's a group of related exercises. They're more interrelated than they are in a typical coding assignment. They solve a coordinated problem. They kind of run the gamut of skills from the beginning of the course to the end of the course. How big is it? Well, it's at least as big as 2 coding assignments. It's probably as big as about 3 coding assignments, something like that. Okay, that's what what it is. Uh, uh, it will have regular exercises, and it will have one challenge exercise. Okay, so the regular exercises in the final project help is available, and the challenge exercise hinting is available. Okay, and that's it. So that's all I have to say about the schedule. I'm going to want to talk about the syllabus just a bit before I wrap up, but I'm going to take a little break before I do that, and I'm going to put you guys on pause. This might be a good time for you to take a pause and take a break, and then I'll be back in a bit to talk through the syllabus, and then I'll let you go. So here's the pause. Okay, we're back. So it's time to talk about the syllabus. And again, I'm only going to go through the syllabus for one of the sections, the A section. And there's not a lot of difference between each version of the syllabus. Things like the course number, the name of the teaching assistant, the name of the teaching assistant, happens a couple of places, but like the link to the weekly schedule is different in each of the documents. Those kinds of things. The day and time and place of classes. Okay. Now the syllabus is pretty long. Okay, it's 13 pages long. Um, we don't have the patience to talk about every little bit of it. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to assume that you read it, okay, because that was part of the assignment for week 1. And I'm going to go through highlights and try to concentrate on things that I didn't talk about when I went through either the Canvas site or the weekly schedule, okay? We'll have time in class and in lab for you to ask me questions about the syllabus or all this content. And again, I'm going to try to make it have a reasonable length here. Okay. We are in Foundations of Information Processing. It's spring 2022. It's IS430. Your syllabus should have the name of your section on it. I'm Kevin Trainer. I'm the instructor. If you want to know more about me, go to my faculty page on the iSchool website. A teaching assistant is Colleen Heineman for this section. Go to your Canvas site and your syllabus to find out the name of the teaching assistant for your section if you're not in the A section. You can take this course for either 2 or 4 credits. When I teach it, the difference is if you take it for 2, you do all the coding assignments, but not the final project. Okay? That's a lot of work for a 2 credit course. Okay? And you don't get the benefit of the final project, which is, I think, a good kind of culminating learning experience. It's not different material. It's just your opportunity to show your mastery of the material in a culminating assignment. So if you don't have the credits to take it for 4, well, I can see take it for 2. Or you don't have the money to take it for 4 credits? Well, I can see taking it for 2. But if you've got the credits and you've got the money and you've got the time, and you're enrolled for 2 credits, talk to your advisor and try to change to 4. Okay, it's I think the 4 credit deal is a good deal. Okay. Uh, Perfectly happy to have people in the course for 2 credits. I think last semester, almost half of the people were in it for 2 credits. So, but I'm just telling you what my thoughts are. If you're going to change from 2 to 4 or 4 to 2, please do not wait till the end of the semester to change. That's a nightmare. Okay. Okay. So the regular class sessions here for the A section on Tuesdays from 12:30 to 2:30. The B section is on Tuesday from 9:30 to 11:30, and the O section is on Thursday online from 6 to 8. Okay. Um, Week 1's online for everybody. We're having class. You're expected to be there. Please come. We need to meet each other and get started. Okay. I set up Zoom sessions for everybody every week. Okay. We do not know what the future will hold for us in terms of the pandemic. Okay, so we're ready. How are we going to know where class is? Okay, well, let's just look at that. If you look at the weekly schedule, this is for the A section, right? In week 1, it says it's on Zoom. In week 2, it says it's at 428 Armory. Okay. That's how you know where it is. If things should change, I'll change this and I will post an announcement in the announcements forum and you should get an email. Okay? So that's how you know. One of the things about the weekly schedule is it's really the definitive spot for content about the course. Okay? That's how you know. Optional lab sessions. Lab sessions are optional because they're extra time that wasn't actually baked into the course. Okay. So I can't require that you come. Um, how often do people come? I've got a couple of people who always come to the lab. They don't always have a question, but they just want to see what's going on. They want to see what kind of questions other people have. Okay. Apart from that, I always have a handful of people who come because they're having problems right now. They need help with them. Okay. And then I've got some people who come um, just to see what's going on. Okay. You figure out what works for you. It's optional. We're glad to see you. Okay. Always glad to see you. Office hours. I don't have conventional office hours. I finally have an office in the new building at the iSchool over at Daniel and 6, the one that's on the site of the former coffee shop, which I miss horribly. My office is on the 4th floor. I'm never there. Okay. I typically work from home and not from that office. I'll be there. I'm going to be down. I'm going to be on campus on Tuesdays in the coming semester, but most of that time I'll be at class. Okay. So if you need to meet with me and the online lab's not going to work, send me a request for an individual meeting on the service desk, and we'll set something up probably on Zoom. Okay. This is especially important if you have something confidential that you don't want to talk about that it isn't appropriate to do at lab time. Okay. Um, if you want to contact me or the TA, use the service desk. Don't use our regular emails. I'll lose it. I guarantee I'll lose it. There's a link here to the service desk introduction page. There's a link to the service desk for this course. It should be the right one for each of the sections. There's a catalog description for the course here. I'll leave for you to read. There's a further description. I think I got this version of the description of the course from one of my colleagues, maybe Elizabeth Wicks. And I've kind of doctored it up a bit, but this is pretty standard for this course. And then we've got the learning outcomes. We want you to be able to understand the role that programming plays in information processing and management, identify opportunities for the information worker to solve everyday work problems using programming, design code and test procedural programs in Python that make use of object-oriented classes provided by others, design code and test a simple object-oriented class in Python, and use the PyCharm IDE competently. I want you to be a good, solid beginner programmer with a lot of confidence and used to following good professional practices. Okay? I want you to be able to go out on the job, be giving a programming problem and to do it and have people say, you know, those people at the iSchool are pretty good. They know their stuff. All right? That's what we're headed for here. The text, the Zell book you have to buy. The Severance book is free. You can buy a paperback copy of it. It might be nice to support Charles Severance, but the electronic copy that I linked to here is always updated as time goes on, so I prefer the electronic one. Technology requirements. I'm assuming that you've got a computer that you're going to use, and it's running a recent copy of Windows 10 or Mac OS. I've not worked with Windows 11. Okay. Is it possible that things will work okay for you if you use Windows 11? It probably will, and if you have it and that's all you can use, if you get into problems, I'll try to help you out. But I've not tested any of this stuff on Windows 11. All this stuff will run on Linux, but there's not a lot of support for that. So before you would make a decision to do that, I would say the only people that makes sense for are people who are better at Linux than I am. I mean, I'm pretty good at Linux servers. Done some work on Linux clients, but not a whole lot. I've not used these tools on Linux clients. If you want me to be able to help you in a strong way, I would warn you away from using a Linux client. Okay? The schedule here. There's a link here to the weekly schedule. There will be changes in the schedule to sort of account for circumstances as they go, as we go through the class, corrections, that kind of stuff. The changes are reasonable. When I make a change, to the weekly schedule, excuse me, I will post on the announcements forum in your on the Canvas site for your section. The course elements include readings, lecture videos, tutorial videos. Okay, I'm not going to go through every word here. These things are complementary. Okay. If you want to be diligent, then you ought to read every word of the readings, and you ought to play every bit of the lecture videos. They do cover the same content, okay? And you know, there's certainly some graduate courses where they don't lecture on the readings, okay? On the other hand, there are a lot of graduate school learners, especially in these kinds of courses, who learn well by listening to lectures. There's content in the readings that I don't cover in the lecture because or the lectures would be even longer than they are. And there's comments and commentary in the lectures that, of course, not in the book. They're my point of view. What I suggest you do is try out all the resources here and pick the pattern that works for you. Okay? Tutorial videos are typically something that I think that you should play. Either they're how to install something or that kind of stuff, or they're how to solve the kind of problem that you're about to do for yourself in some kind of exercise. So I'd recommend that you play the tutorial videos. The coding assignments are really where the learning goes on. I often humorously I'll say that the reason that we do a lot of coding in our course and we don't do things like quizzes or exams, I'll say I don't care what you know, I only care what you can do. Now that's not completely true, and I say that in a humorous spirit, but for a programmer, you know, being able to tell good stories at cocktail parties with what you know is probably nice. But what you really get paid for is what you're able to do, right? And that's what you learn when you're doing the coding assignments. There's a lot to be learned by just keying in the program and getting it to run and running into problems and solving those. Okay? Um, uh, I'm going to publish my official solution to all the regular exercises right before class. And one of the first things that we're going to do in the class is we're going to review your solutions in mind. We'll break up into groups and we'll review. And what we're looking for is how are they different from each other? And are they different from each other? Are some of the differences favorable? You know, has somebody taken some kind of a novel approach that everybody should see? Are some of them unfavorable because they're not good practices, or they just kind of ordinary differences? You could do it one way or you could do it the other. I'm convinced that talking about programming and different approaches to solving a problem is a big part of learning how to program. Okay, when you first come to programming, you have this idea that you write a program once and you leave it like that. And the truth, it couldn't be farther from the truth. The fact is that uh, programs for most people have a pretty long life. And they could change a lot because the requirements change. And so talking about different approaches and how you would change it and why one way is more favorable than the other, this kind of leads us to thinking like mature programmers who are going to maintain programs a lot. Okay? Um, so that's why we're going to talk about the work as much as we are. There's a deal on the points that you can earn for coding assignments, where you get a bunch of points. You get sort of a guaranteed score by A, handing it in on time, B, following the directions about how to name things and hand them in, and C, making a good faith effort on all parts. If you wait till you see the solution, the official solution, before you try to do yours, it'll look easy. Okay? A lot of the learning is in the trying to figure out how to do it yourself. Okay? Even if you don't do it completely right, even if you make a mistake, you learn more by giving it a good try and perhaps coming up short here or there. Then you learn by seeing the solution and then going, trying to do it after you've already seen the solution. Okay, it's the trying where the learning goes on. So the score deal that I offer is if you follow the instructions about how to name things and hand them in, and if you make a good faith effort on all parts of the regular exercises, and you hand it in on time, you'll get at least an 85. Okay, and so you have the incentive here to be brave and to try everything and hand it in, and then we'll talk about it in class. The final project I talked about when we were going through the schedule, even though I call it a project, it's not group oriented, it's an individual assignment. Okay. It's not something that you need to dream up. Okay. There are instructions for it. It's like a coding assignment on steroids. Maybe a coding assignment on steroids twice. Okay. It's the kind of thing that I'm expecting you to work on the last 3 or 4 weeks of the course. Okay. Attendance. Here at the iSchool, we expect you to attend all the classes. If you miss one and it's an online class, well, then we'd expect you to play the recording. Okay. We don't have recordings of in-person classes. Now, here's the thing that I really want to emphasize. Okay. These in-person classes, the A section and the B section, it's going to be really important that we keep each other safe. Okay, so if you're not sure that you're well, don't come to class. Okay, there's always an online section that we can arrange for you to play the recording of. Okay, so please come to class when you're well. You can participate. We'd love to see you and all that kind of stuff. But in the event that you're not well, or that you're not sure you're well, or your family's not well, or you're not sure they're well, okay, we have a way to get you access to the content, okay? So you should have the confidence to do the right thing, all right? Participation is a big part of the class. You'll see in a couple of minutes that it accounts for 10% of your grade. That's a full letter grade, okay? That's the difference between an A and a B, or a B and a C. So it's a big deal. Okay, well, how do we grade it? Well, you earn points for things, okay? You earn points for this greetings post. You earn points for making a speaking a contribution in class. If it's an online class where we have the chat feature, you earn points for chats. If you present your solution to a coding assignment during class, then you earn a bunch of points. If you present as a spokesperson for a breakout group that you're in, then you earn a bunch of points for that. Okay, and I'll talk about the grading of participation based upon the points in a couple of minutes. Okay, now I have a whole section, several pages of course grading policies. And this is kind of new. I've had this for 2 or 3 semesters. Most people find these things kind of intuitive. Unfortunately, a few people just don't get the nuances of how things are going to be graded and what the rules are going to be. So I've written this out explicitly, kind of like the language you'd see in a contract, so that nobody gets surprised about the way things are going to be graded. So I'm just going to run through here and go through the titles so you'll know what the issues are. And you'll notice the things that maybe might surprise some people. I've highlighted them in yellow. So, the university and the iSchool have their own grading policies apart from my individual ones, and I will follow them. Okay? Careful attention to detail is required. So this is a really detail-oriented course. Okay, so when your work is graded, deductions are going to be made for all deviations from the assignment instructions. So pay attention to the instructions and to the grading rubrics. Assignment resubmissions are not permitted. So if you're disappointed with a grade, well, if you've taken advantage of the grading deal that I have on the coding assignments, you're going to have at least an 85. That's not a disaster. If your disasters are 85s, you can pretty much always recover, which is why I don't allow resubmissions. Deadline extensions must be requested before the deadline. How do you do it? On the service desk, okay? We're pretty liberal with extensions, okay? The one thing that's hard to do is to grant you an extension past the beginning of the next class, because that's when we distribute the solutions. Deductions will be made for late submissions, okay? That's why we have such a big incentive in the grading to hand coding assignments in on time. Assignments submitted too late will not be graded, okay? We have so many people in so many classes, we have so many things to grade, we can't be grading forever, okay? Now, If you have unusual circumstances and you've missed some things, well, then certainly put in a request for some grace on this. Okay. Uh, certainly, deadline extension requests in this too late category will get some consideration. Grade adjustments will be limited to automatic rounding. Okay, and by rounding I mean 0, 0 point, 0.0 through 0.5, sorry, 0.0 through 0.4 will be rounded down, 0.5 through 0.9 will be rounded up. Okay. That's it. Okay. I'm not going to entertain, well, if I got one more point that would put me across a threshold instead of a B plus, I'd have an 80 minus. We're just going to round it. Okay. That's it. Regrading requests will be given fair consideration. So if we missed the grading of something because you handed in later, maybe we simply missed it, okay? Or you've seen your grade, you've read the feedback form that we gave you, and you think we missed something, okay? Well, put a regrading request in on the service desk, and we'll give it a consideration, and we'll get back to you. So open a ticket on it. Extra credit opportunities are not available. Okay. Especially with the grade deal that we have on coding assignments, there should be no reason to have extra credit assignments. And the other problem that I have with that is that I have to offer the same opportunities to everybody. And so no extra credit. I talked about the difference between regular exercises and assignments and challenge exercises. If you meet all of the expectations on the regular exercises and you handed it in on time and you named everything right and you did all that kind of stuff, you're going to score 95 points, a good solid A. Okay. The challenge exercises are what would get you a 96, a 97, a 98, a 99, or 100. Those are going to be challenging, right? So if you meet all the expectations in the course, you'll get a 95. That's a good solid A. Okay? That's what you can expect. Beyond that, you have to have done the optional challenge exercises and done exceptional work. Coding assignments that meet certain criteria subject to a minimum score guarantee. This is the 85 deal. Okay? So read through the details on that. Your participation will be graded based upon the participation points earned throughout the semester. So all these things that you can do, most of them you can do over and over again. The greetings post you can only do one time. You earn points for, okay? So you earn 10 points for the greeting post. When you speak in class, 2 points. If you're online and you chat, 1 point. If you present your coding assignment, you get 5 points. If you're the spokesperson for your group, you get 5 points. At the end of the semester, we total up all the points, and there's a pretty wide range, okay? And I grade it on a curve, okay? So I've got this table that explains how it gets graded on the curve, okay? So if the points that you have earned land you in the 50th percentile, well, for your participation grade will be a 90. If it puts you in the 75th percentile, it'll be a 95. If you're in the 99th percentile, you'll get 100. If you're in the 25th percentile, you'll get an 80. If you're in the 10th percentile, you'll get a 70. If you're in the less than 10th percentile, you'll get a 60, provided that you had at least 10 participation points. And if you have fewer than 10 participation points, which you can get from your greetings post, you get a 0. Now, if you get a 0, you've lost a letter grade. Okay? It's the difference between an A and a B, or a B and a C, or a C and a D. Okay? So, that's how those things are graded. Okay? Attendance at class may affect your grade. Okay, so attendance is required, but of course we're in the pandemic, so it can be challenging. Okay, if we're having a bad time with attendance because of the pandemic, we'll probably move online, at least for individual classes where that's a problem, and then everybody can attend, provided that you're not on your deathbed. There are no points particularly for coming to class, but all those participation things are earned in class. Okay, so there are some points that relate to being in class to get credit for participation. Now, here are the components of the grade. Okay. It's different for students who are taking the class for 4 credits or 2 credits. In both cases, participation is 10% of the grade. For coding assignments, for 4 credit students, the coding assignments are 45% of the grade. For 2 credit students, they're 90% of the grade. The final project for 4 credit students is 45% of the grade. It's not applicable to 2 credit students. We have a table here that shows how number grades will be converted into letter grades. Okay, this is pretty standard at the iSchool. I got it from one of my colleagues when I started 13 and a half years ago. Note that the only adjustments we're going to make is rounding. Okay, so we'll take your final number grade that we calculate, and then we'll round it to a whole number. And on the basis of that in this table, that's the letter grade that you're going to get. Okay, so now we have these policies at the end. I tend to call this part of the syllabus boilerplate. Boilerplate is a term of art that they use in contracts to mean kind of standard language that's included all the time in contracts. Kind of standard provisions. And because of that, you may have seen a lot of this already, and you might understand it. Okay, if it's the first time that you're seeing it, well, you might not understand it, so please take some time to. So in some sense, this section of the syllabus is a little bit boring because maybe you've already seen it. On the other hand, these are like all super important things. So I'm going to talk through it just briefly, and I want to tell you that these are all important. And if one of these things applies to you and you have a question or you need some help, come to me and I'll help. Sometimes I'm not the primary person who's going to give help, okay? But I'll certainly connect you with that person, okay? So kind of boring, but super important. Incomplete grades are hard to get here at the iSchool and at the university. So if you think you might have a situation where an incomplete grade is appropriate, well then consult this information and be in touch with us. Academic integrity is taken very seriously. There's a link here to the policy on academic integrity. You must hand in your own work. Okay, so you can't hand in the work of others. You can't hand in solutions that I published in a previous semester. Okay, you have to do the work yourself. Um, um, it's especially important to type in the code yourself. Now, can we consult with each other? Yeah, we can. One of the things that you'll see when I do the lab sessions, we do them in the open. Everybody sees everybody else's code. Okay, so if you see somebody else's code, okay, and you kind of understand the problem, and then you can go write that code yourself. That's okay. That's writing the code yourself. Okay. Um, Here's what I tell. It's okay. It's okay to talk amongst ourselves. If one of your colleagues is having a problem, okay, don't give them your code and say, here, copy this. Okay. Have them show you the problem code and give them suggestions and hints, or at most a snippet of code. Okay. Don't give them the code. Okay. Everybody has to create this stuff themselves. And we're serious about it. Okay. Inclusion. We want this to be a safe place where everybody's respected. And there's a lot of language here, some from the University Senate and other things here. We take this all very seriously. That's the way I'm going to treat you. That's the way I'm going to expect you to treat each other. If we have problems, okay, we're going to expect to be able to resolve them. And it's my responsibility to help to resolve them. Okay. So all this inclusiveness and respect stuff is really important, and I'm here to help. Religious observances. If the schedule in some way conflicts with your religious observances, let us know and request an accommodation, and we'll accommodate. Accessibility. If you're a person who needs accommodations because you are atypical in some way, some physical way, some emotional way, some other health way, we're committed to giving you accessibility. So come to us and we will give you the accommodations to which you are entitled. Now, I've got two COVID statements here, one from the iSchool, one from the university. So there's a statement on COVID from the iSchool, there's one on COVID from the university, there's one on face coverings from the university, there's one on building access from the university. I'm not going to go through all the details. Read them, please. Okay? Please follow the rules. Do your best to keep us all safe. And if you've got a problem or you need help, or because of the pandemic, you can't come to something, let me know and we'll do our best to accommodate you. Okay? We are committed to having a good semester and not having that ruined by the pandemic. And to do that, we need to pull together and to support each other. And again, there are, I think, 4 statements here, and I'd like you to read through them. Okay. So that's about it. Um, we'll talk some more when we're in class. Okay. I think this is a fun course. Programming, I think, can be a really fun activity. It can make your life a lot easier compared to managing the same information or solving the same problems without programming. Um, we can have fun while we're learning. We usually do. Um, we can accommodate a lot of backgrounds. You know, one of the things I haven't explicitly said is that we get all types in this course, right? We get people who have already done some programming. We get people who are doing some programming in their job right now, but they want to learn more formally. Okay. We get people who just don't know programming from anything. You've all come to the right place. There's enough here to interest you and to challenge you. This is a first course, so we're not assuming that you've had programming before or that you're a good programmer. Most people do well in this course, including people who have no prior programming experience at all. Uh, People do well in this course who love math. People do well in this course who hate math. People like me who tolerate it to get to ends, they do well too. Okay. So we can accommodate a broad range of people and a broad range of interests. Um, there's a lot of help here. You can expect to do well. This is a friendly place. Um, and my expectation is that you're going to leave here with confidence and capability, and you'll have had some fun, and you'll have met some other people, and it'll be all positive. So I look forward to see you in the first class in the coming week. I'll see you then. Bye bye.